everyone, welcome to a new vlog. This is Iris from the future starting the vlog off because I realized I never did that. But basically this isn't going to be a traditional reading vlog because I didn't really talk at the camera at all. I'm going to go into a little clip show of me moving across the country from Seattle to Wisconsin, and that's going to play. I went through MOAB, Utah, so I did like a giant V on the continental United States, and I visited my friend in MOAB and we went on some hikes and stuff. So it's a fun little montage and shit, but at the end of the video I'm gonna be reviewing Braiding Sweetgrass and Sorrowland by River Solomon and Robin Wall Kimmerer, and these were the two books that I ended up reading on my drive, obviously through audiobook form. So I'll add the review of these two books to the end of this video. Braiding Sweetgrass is a non-fiction about ecology and indigenous thought and wisdom. And then River Solomon's new book is a really cool kind of speculative, almost like body horror sci-fi about a young albino black girl who is pregnant with twins and escapes from a black separatist cult that worships the god of Cain. And it's a really cool sci-fi book as well. So that will happen at the end of the video. And then I'm also going to attach on the slow readers tag by Mikaila. I don't know what her channel name is, but I saw that I was tagged in it on Twitter. So I'm also going to do like a quick fire tag about my reading goals of the year. I know it's like halfway through the year, but I haven't really done it on my channel in a while. So I'll do that at the end too. But other than that, I also wanted to mention my next vlog, which is going to be a little bit more traditional booktube reading vlog styled. I'm gonna do a friends pick my TBR, or you guys, whoever you are out there, pick my TBR. So I'm gonna be buddy reading a book with Sarah, Fair Play by Tove Jansson. I've heard good things about this one. And then Sage picked my TBR. They challenged me to read Braiding Sweetgrass, Care Work, and We Will Not Cancel Us. So I ended up reading Braiding Sweetgrass on my road trip, but I will be reading Care Work and We Will Not Cancel Us in the next reading vlog that I post. But besides those, so that's two non-fiction-y transformative justice books and one like lesbian classic. Is that what Fair Play is? I also want some recommendations. I was talking with Julia and I sent them a really good explanation of my reading taste. So if you want to recommend me a book or force me to read a book or whatever, here is my taste in books. I like sci-fi. I like sci-fi fantasy with literary elements. I like contemporary fiction that is faster paced, and I'm reading more poetry, nonfiction, and short story collections lately. I like ones that play with gods, magic, or realms, fairies, and I love it when stuff is queer or from a post-colonial or decolonial perspective. So if you have any recommendations that you think I haven't read, you can always cross-reference my Goodreads, keep that pretty updated. Let me know and I might read it. Who knows? It'll be a little game, I guess. I don't know, whatever. But besides that, enjoy my new apartment. I'm only here until August. It's just a summer sublet. And enjoy this clip show. Allons-y. Nice.
21. Vern raided the kitchen drawers and gave her children 2 knives each. Strike without hesitation, scraping the skin. Vern's eyes flicked open, not of their own accord. Her face twisted into a wide smile, skin stretching like a sheet of latex until the muscles were sore. A foreign body inside her pressing them up and up, her cheeks bulging uncomfortably.
Oh my god, it's so pretty here! What the fuck? What the fuck? Look at this rock, it's so red. Oh my gosh. That's beautiful. Whoa. I'm such a dumbass for rocks.
We're flying across the ocean soon. We're flying across the ocean, ocean, ocean soon, ocean soon.
Hello vlog. I have not started the vlog yet, even though I've been driving for 2 days. Hi vlog. Is this gonna work? Can you see me? Hi. So right now I'm driving through Arches National Park, which means I have gotten to my destination, which is fantastic. My friend Ellie lives in MOAB right now. Oh my gosh, this is just fucking gorgeous, isn't it? I haven't been to Utah since I was a baby, so I have never experienced this scenery, and it is amazing, like really amazing. And so I was born in New Mexico in the southwest of the United States, and I haven't been back since I was like 12 or 11 or something. I grew up in New Mexico until I was 8 years old, and then we moved to Wisconsin. And yeah, I haven't been back till now, and I don't know, like, I don't know, I feel things about it though. I feel things. I'm listening to Rivers Solomon's book, Sorrowland. I think I am 70% through or so. 68%. Nope, 77% through. My app just updated. And she lives in the forest for a couple of years with her twin babies that are not really gendered in the way you'd think, and she herself is intersex, and that I think is in the first chapter, so I don't think that's like a spoiler. But you know, River Solomon is just, they're just fucking amazing. Like, her characters are so cool and so queer, and the subject and themes discussed in the book is just all about, you know, the horridness of the US government, but also like, because it puts, or it did put black people into such a extreme apartheid kind of situation, especially back in, you know, before civil rights era, it was easy to exploit, and it kind of goes into like exploitation and government plants and like all this cool radical history stuff that, you know, I'm like learning stuff about radical history too, which is always cool. You can always trust River Solomon to like teach you new things about things you already care about. Maybe teach me new things about things I care about. There's a lot of like theory of schooling and like how bad the American school systems are, and how alternative structures are like bad versus good, and maybe just like something different. You can't really say like it's not a moral, well, it is a moral thing, because the American school system teaches a propagandist history. Anyway, yeah, it really, the majority of the book goes into a kind of like queer found family with a really cool indigenous healer as one of the characters. I love it. Like, I cried 2 times yesterday while I was listening to it about the difference between like illiteracy and getting caught up and falling in love with theory and philosophy. I think they're a genius. I think they're a fucking genius, and I wish Faye wrote more books. But I will covet and savor while I've got it. Anyway, I need to turn soon.
In 600 feet, turn left onto East 100 South.
Alrighty. And I'm gonna see my best friend. Well, one of my best friends, but I'm excited. Hello,
turn left on East 100
MOAB.
South.
Hi, MOAB. Let's go, MOAB.
Angel. Hey, how'd you find me? You've never done this before.
Shh. We found some shade. Can I take a picture? In a sec. I'm taking video.
Or did I ruin it?
No.
I need a...
You're gonna be fine. It's just all downhill from there. Why would you do that? Why would you get the world?
Thank you for the smoothie. It kind of looks like the sea, if the sea didn't have any water. It does. It really does. I think it was a sea at one point. Yeah.
Up from it.
Really? You're right, this is a total airbender hangout.
Right? It feels crazy. You gotta put one foot on either side.
Over blunts now, miracle whip at fun town, summertime, Mikaila, Mississippi, over ice, Janet Jackson, and flash lights, dancing.
Baby, we're in Colorado. Colorado.
I was a flaming faggot, that's what the principal called me, not to my face, but I felt when I was stuck in his office. I'm just an
American problem.
That's from the Sunday Boys. It's actually a tweet. Just kidding. It's a review, yeah. These boys.
James, I'm really enjoying that you keep drinking this.
These good boys. These boys are the goodest podcast boys. Most good boys. You never find a better bunch of boys or a better podcast dog. Boys, 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 boys. That's from Mikaila.
5 stars.
5 stars.
Terrific.
Forkfuls every now and then between tasks. As we all watch
to be a good citizen of Maple Nation. Larry is the stoker. Every 10 minutes, he pulls on elbow-length gloves and dons a face shield before opening the door to the fire. The heat is intense as he adds another armload of 3-foot lengths of firewood, one by one. "You gotta keep it boiling heavy," he says, and spills over, tumbling in a massive drop to the water below. Bloink. Shh from rain. Pit, pit, pit from hemlock. Bloink from maple. And lastly, pop of falling alder water. Alder drops make a slow music. It takes time for fine rain to traverse the scabrous, rough surface of an alder leaf.
Been a long time gone. Lord, I ain't had a prayer since I don't know when. Long time gone, and it ain't coming back again.
Memoirist and the author of Good Talk, and I'm going to be moderating today's conversation with, as you know, River Solomon, Torey Peters, and Alison Bechdel, which is just a fantastic lineup. And when I was asked to do this, I'm not going to lie, I did the thing where my heart actually leapt.
I'm River Solomon. Just for a visual description, I'm a black, dykish being with short hair, wearing a charcoal color collared shirt with a red and blue cravat. My pronouns are they, fair, and they, them. And yeah, I'm going to read the beginning of Sorrowland for you. The child gushed out from twixt Vern's legs, ragged and smelling of salt. Slight he was, and feeble as a promise. He felt in her palms a great wilderness. Such a tender thing as he could never be parsed fully by the likes of her.
The question for Reese. Were married men just desperately attracted to her? Or was the pool of men who were available to her as a trans woman only those who had already locked down a cis wife and could now explore with her? The easy answer, the one that all the girls advocated, was to call men dogs. But now, here's Reese, sneaking around with another handsome, charming, motherfucking cheater.
I know, having low vision and all of these things, and I really wanted to play with the ways those vulnerabilities interacted with the kind of power that she takes hold of through the book. I don't know, as a metaphor for the way that all of us kind of make ourselves eventually. When I wrote this book and when I wrote this character, I was thinking about the way that certain people, and specifically black people and black women, are seen as kind of simultaneously subhuman and also superhuman, in the way that that narrative kind of gets used to turn us into monsters that need to, like, a specific way that we need to be controlled by the state, and why we need to specifically be targets for violence because we're dangerous and deviant and a sort of threat to a white innocence. We kind of wanted to revel in the idea of blackness being a kind of inherent rebellion to sort of the white status quo and these power structures. That I don't know if it was an inspiration or kind of like a shadow hanging over me, but was Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, and just as a work of Gothic literature, but also sort of reckoning with what it means to be made as something that's reviled and despised, and what that does to you.
I think that I was really curious. I was like, what happens to the nuclear family, or what happens to this tradition of sort of domestic bourgeois novels, like this kind of, I always, when you introduce a trans woman into it, like I had sort of had these ideas growing up that, like, when people were like, this is the great American novel, people handed me, like, I don't know, Philip Roth or Updike or all these different things. And they were all about families and usually nuclear families. And I was like, well, how does this whole genre work? If, starting with like Jane Austen, like marriage kind of questions, if there's a trans woman in the story.
Good one. Don't take advice.
Yeah, that's my advice. Don't listen to anyone.
That's a fair one.
My advice is to find your audience. That was what meant something for me. Instead of writing sort of for everybody, when I began to think that, like, I'm writing for, like, these 6 friends, suddenly I realized I had something urgent to say to those 6. I don't have anything particularly urgent to say to the entire world, but I have something extremely urgent to say to, like, 6 friends of mine. And I want to do something for 6 friends of mine. And so if you can think of an audience that's like 6 people who you have something important to say or urgent to say, that for me is what allowed me to sort of find my voice and find an urgency to my writing.
And follow your interests and passions and be weird.
Love that. Thank
you. I agree with that too.
Absolutely.
Wasn't that a fun time? I had fun. So I've been in this apartment now for around a week. And I was actually really pleased with my decision to read these 2 books on my road trip. I felt like they complemented each other extremely well. When I needed something more driven, fast-paced, plot-focused, whatever you want to call it, Sorrowland was something great to drive to. And when I just wanted someone, like, telling me pleasing or harrowing things, but in a way that had hope in it, Braiding Sweetgrass was definitely a great nonfiction audiobook. Robin Wall Kimmerer reads it herself as well, and they were just both kind of in this idea of indigenous thought or indigeneity. Let's talk about Braiding Sweetgrass first. The book's kind of like a collection of anecdotes and stories from her life. She's done ecology work in both the Midwest and the Pacific Northwest, which was funny because I was driving from Seattle to Wisconsin. But she's a citizen of the Potawatomi Nation and has a lot of different interesting roots in the US. Her parents went to one of the Native American schools that, like, stripped Native people of their culture. And so she talks about that, but most of the book is about the land and reframing our ecology or environmentalist thought into taking the land's perspective into account and treating the land as if the land has a say. You know, what would the land be if it got to decide what it wanted to be? It took almost like a spiritual perspective of nature, and that everything is sacred, and that even the smallest thing that depends on the tree is, you know, lost when the forest is clear cut. It also introduced these, like, you know, radical indigenous modes of society and culture that are very anti-capitalist, and kind of, it gives you a peek into a world that would work without capitalism and without hoarding wealth. So she talks a lot about the gift economy and giving when you have plenty and taking when you need something but not taking too much. And then she, you know, interweaves that with our harvesting practices, how American agriculture just does, you know, fields and fields of one plant and clear cuts them, while there are more sustainable ways to harvest trees and plants and produce, everything really. I don't know, it was a really beautiful, interesting, anti-capitalist look at American society. It really wants to bring context back to the land and bring you know, restore the land to a livable place again. You know, I just learned that we paved paradise to put up a parking lot. Who knew? I stole that from Twitter. She really covers a lot of like capitalism and American homogeneity, where we kind of treat, at least in the US, this is like talking from my perspective, we treat every part of the US as if it can be exactly the same. You know, we have the same chain stores everywhere. We have the same looking architecture everywhere. We all pretend that we all speak English, even though that's not, I mean, whatever, English. I think the lie that capitalism tells us is that we need it. So I think that she found a really interesting way to show people that maybe lived in urban settings for like a lot of their life. I don't know, I've lived in urban settings and I've lived in kind of rural-ish settings, but I don't know if I've never like worked on the land except for in middle school, really. So I feel like I'm kind of in this like middle area where I do really connect with a lot of this book, but some of the things feel very foreign to me because I've lived such an interior school-driven life thus far in my life, so far. Here, wait, I need to read from my notes. What did I say? Like knowing that the land can provide for you as long as you do not take too much. Clear cutting and harvesting entire fields for humans leaves nothing for the land or the rest of nature that depends on the land, the rest of the animals out there. Decentering the needs of humans as the most important and not forgetting the important role that humans play. And that's actually where sweetgrass comes in. So sweetgrass actually evolved with indigenous sweetgrass weavers so that it actually thrives when it is continuously harvested. And sweetgrass that is away from people that use it doesn't thrive and doesn't continue to grow. So it's this interesting plant that depends on humans the way that humans depend on it. And it shows the cycle of reciprocity with plants and land and people. There's also this fantastic ending to Braiding Sweetgrass of, it's kind of like a fable, a story, a parable, I don't know what to call it, but like It takes buckthorn, which is this shiny invasive tree that I remember cutting down in middle school. They gave me this like giant saw, and it was my favorite thing to do, to like go out in this pasture across the street from our middle school, and we were just allowed to kind of have free reign. So we got to cut down buckthorn and pull up garlic mustard. Only pull up garlic mustard when it is not flowering, because otherwise you'll spread a bunch of seeds around and you'll just make the problem worse. Anyway, she has this little story at the end of the book about her collecting the poisonous seeds of buckthorn in the summertime and then making it into a tea and like destroying this physical manifestation of capitalism and greed and taking too much with the buckthorn tea. And it was like, it's just a really powerful little climax to the book, and it was fantastic creative writing, and I really loved it. It really made me think of the book as something that I could like recommend to people in a way that wasn't just like, oh, you want to learn about this, but like, no, this is a book full of experiences, which is my favorite kind of book, as long as things give me a little bit more than just the bare bones. I don't know, it's just imaginative, creative, and wonderful, and about very important things. That's the best I can do. Hope that was a good review. 5 stars. I don't know if I'm still giving star ratings. I kind of like them, but yeah, Braiding Sweetgrass, 5 out of 5. So I don't usually start book reviews out with read-alikes, but I did want to this time around, just because I haven't read that many like genre-y sci-fi books, so I might be a little bit whatever. But the one that I thought was very similar to Sorrowland was actually Axiom's End by Lindsay Ellis. I feel like they both played with like interesting descriptions of not alien body types, but like the physical manifestation of something other. Was really cool. So Sorrowland's about this girl named Vern. She starts out, I think 15, 16, and then it kind of zooms through a couple years pretty quickly, but she's sort of on the run, living out in the wild with her 2 children, and she is an albino black woman who is having these visions of I'll wait for the plane. She's having these visions of horrifying things. She's also disabled and has a lot of visual impairment, but has visions that are very clear. And so there is this sort of power manifesting in her, and we're not really sure if it's good or bad, but it seems to be caused by something going on within this separatist cult commune that she grew up on, whatever. It's really wonderful. It's really, there's a lot of, or not a lot, I wouldn't say a lot, but River Solomon's books always have a really beautiful fostered relationship in them that definitely explores non-binary, in the traditional sense of the term, like non-binary genders and gender non-conforming or indigenous genders as well. And there's a lot of talk through the lens of like the main character not liking gender roles and other people strictly adhering to gender roles. So I always love River Solomon's writing on that. There's a lot of hate in this book too. Like, I don't think that the book is hateful, but it is very anti-American, anti-gender binary, anti-imperialist. It's beautiful to see the type of thought that manifested this book. It's very maybe accessible, and it just, I loved it. I don't know what else to say. It's so good. But what I was saying, there's always a really good relationship, a queer love, sex sort of relationship in fair books. River Solomon writes these like touching and kind of sexy scenes. So yeah, there is smut. There's really nice smut, lovely smut. I'm not so pretentious that I don't love good smut. I am reading a 300,000 word Spike and Buffy fanfic currently, if you're wondering what kind of smut I read. These two were both 5 out of 5 stars. Really loved them. Really highly recommend them. And I hope you all might pick them up because I'm telling you to. Ding. All right. So now I just wanted to do Mikaila's tag really quick. I'm gonna do it. I'll leave her video down below, but I just have my questions written out right here, so I'll just do it really quickly. Let's just do it. So what is my Goodreads goal for the year? I'm trying to read 100 books for the year, but I think I'm around 15 books behind right now. I still think I could catch up, but I don't really put pressure on myself to finish a certain number of books, especially since I've been doing so much deep reading of nonfiction and queer theory books. We'll talk about that later. Okay, question number 2. How many books do you read on average per month? There's gonna be a lot of non-answers in this. I'd say around 6 to 7 if I'm reading fun fiction and more non-fiction heady stuff. I do like to break things up, not read one genre. Yeah, so I'd say around 6. Question number 3. How many days does it typically take you to read a book? If we're talking like a 350 page book that's like being published today, you know, I'd say around 4 to 5 days. I don't necessarily love reading things in one sitting. I have read things in one sitting, but I like to break things up. I love reading before bed, and I like listening to books too, so I don't know. Again, another non-answer. 4. Are you always reading or do you take breaks in between? I definitely take breaks. I'm like halfway through Strange Creatures by Phoebe North because the moment I stopped vlogging for that vlog, my last vlog, I put it down because I was liking it too much and I was worried I was gonna read it too quickly. And I constantly do that. I'll read sections of books, put them down, and pick them up again. I think I have a pretty good memory for books, and I'm also really fine with reading things that I don't understand and like figuring it out. Like I loved The Starless Sea, and I love sci-fi books that just throw you into an alien planet and like you have to figure it all out for yourself. Obviously not to like the detriment of the reader. I don't know where that line is, but I guess it just is by taste or by how good the writing is. But I love figuring out a world. And even if the world doesn't really give me the answers that I want, I'm still okay with that. So I take a very loose approach to reading books one by one. Number 5, what book took you particularly long to read? I would say the most recent book that I took a long time with was Detransition Baby. It was, you know, it was like my baby. I couldn't read it in one sitting. I needed to take my time with it. It was a wonderful book that kind of explored a white trans queer experience, obviously from the perspective of some trans women, but it still felt very home-like to me. So I took my time with it. I really loved getting to experience the characters in these little sections that I read it in, because I put it down and picked it up, I think like 3 or 4 times. And I'm really excited for the TV show of Detransition Baby because I feel like it will be like that, of like really fostering the like knowledge of the characters. And I really love the characters in this because they're all fucking assholes to each other. Question number 6. Do big books intimidate you because you'll be spending a lot of time with them? I would say so. Yeah, I agree with that. I figure big books are like commitments, and I'm not good at commitments. So I usually will blast through a bunch of little 200-page books before I pick up one 400 to 500-page book, because I'm not sure if the commitment will be worth it in the end. Usually, just because I really pick out my big books carefully, I've not been let down. You know, 1Q84 is the longest book I've read. Fantastic, loved it. I really love exploring the world of Haruki Murakami. What's another big book I've read? I don't know, if I'm like reading a science fiction or fantasy book that's around 500 pages, I really do try to like pick them out when I'm excited to read them. And otherwise, I'll just listen to big books instead of reading them, because it feels like less a commitment, but that's just psychological. It's so dark and rainy outside today. It's kind of nice though. It hasn't been really cold in Madison since I got here. It's been so hot and sweaty and humid, and now it's cold, and I don't know, I feel so cozy and stuff. It's really cute. Question number 7. Which books have you actually read in one day? And then she qualifies it, or super quickly. I thought that was funny. From my memory, I think the books that I've read in one day are Convenience Store Woman, which I loved a lot. I really love that weird narrator, whoever she is, by Sayaka Murata. Never Let Me Go by Kazuo Ishiguro was actually one I read in one sitting. That is a weird, fun book too. Fun. It's like depressing as fuck. But in a weird, childlike, hopeful lens, which is really interesting to read. I don't know, even with like fast-paced young adult books or short poetry books, I'll usually, you know, pick them up and put them down and read them throughout 1 or 2 days. I like breaking up my reading. I think that sometimes people will blast through books, or people being me from the past. I used to blast through books too quickly and not really indulge in like learning the environment that it's fostering. And so yeah, I try to read books slowly nowadays. I don't know, I think it's better for everyone, really. The author, the book, me, whatever. Question number 8. What book genre takes you the most time to read? Obviously, I'm gonna say theory, just because I do read theory, which is such a weird, stupid thing to say. But I will show you the book I'm reading. So right now, I'm 31 pages into Touching Feeling by Eve Karofsky-Sedgwick. And so Eve Sedgwick is a queer theorist, cultural theorist, and this is her, I think it's her last book. It includes the essay Paranoid Reading and Reparative Reading, or You're So Paranoid You Probably Think That This Is About You, which is one of those essays that like fully changed my mind about how I think of queer studies or like queer criticism. It's kind of a heady piece to get through, but she's very interested in responding to queer culture of like the 90s and the early aughts, which I find very interesting because that's that culture that kind of brought up my queerness. If we're talking like lineage of queerness, like I feel like queer cultural studies of like identifying every single gay character in a TV show, or like analyzing every single queer storyline to figure out if it was good or if it was bad or if it was well written or if this person was queer or if this person was not queer, you know, all of that kind of like paranoia around ooh, who is me? Who am I? Where am I reflected in media and society? All that shit was definitely how I thought about my queerness for a long time. And I think that this really solidified a kind of hope of something other than that. It's a really weird way to explain that essay, but I'm going through the rest of it. So I read the introduction and I've got this little notebook. It's very cute, you know. I'm taking my notes, taking my time, writing down all of the vocab and stuff in this. So I would say theory is the genre that takes me the longest to read. And question number 9, a book you regret reading because you spent so much time with it for so little payoff. I would have to say Paradise Lost by Milton. That's by Milton, right? Yeah, it's by Milton. John Milton. It's like an epic poem about Satan. Satan's kind of the main character, I guess. And then there's like Adam and Eve, and there's a bunch of angels. It's all about like free will and shit, and it's like very poetic. I really didn't like Paradise Lost. I get it, but like, meh. Don't major in English, everybody. Anyway, question number 10. Recommend fellow slow readers a book. I feel like reading like short, queer, poetic. I mean, this one's pretty poetic and this one's pretty poetic. And then this one is more of like a new adult kind of dirtbag energy. But I liked all 3 of these and I feel like they could maybe get you out of a reading slump. They're also all queer and weird and cool. Yeah, there you go. These are usually the books that I like give to people that I'm not sure are like big readers, you know? I guess slow readers can be big readers. I don't know. These are just the 3. So I said This Is How You Lose the Time War by Amal El-Mohtar and Max Gladstone, Freshwater by Akwe Kiyemezi, and Pizza Girl by Jean Kyung Fraser. This one has a good audiobook and it just came out in paperback, so it might be a little bit cheaper or easily gettable nowadays. But yeah, these are 3 books that I really enjoy and they were very quick. Cool, I think that's the rest of the tag. I don't tag anybody. I tag you, you know, you right there with the green shirt. I tag you. You gotta do it next, okay? And I'll see you guys later with another video. Bye.